Hey, friend, welcome back to the Declutter 360 podcast. I am really pumped because today is our 10th episode in the Simple Summer series, and it's our final episode of the Simple Summer series. My goodness, what an amazing summer we have had together. You have had this incredible opportunity to fill your decluttering and organizing toolkit with so many fantastic tips. And the best part about these tips is this idea that you are the one in control of them, of not just selecting which tips you're actually going to put in your toolkit, but which ones you're going to use and how and when you're going to put them into use. But that how is the biggest game changer because you are in full control over all of the parameters and the boundaries and things that you're going to be using to help simplify decluttering and organizing and living in an organized way for yourself. Just the fact that you have joined me now for this whole series and you have these tips that you can lean on, you've had this incredible opportunity to set your mental space up to attack decluttering in your home and in your life in a really focused way. You've given yourself the opportunity to think through your tactics, your strategies that you're going to use when you're decluttering to help keep you from getting stuck, to help simplify the whole process, to make it go more quickly so that it's not just the after product that brings you joy. You actually get to experience some of that joy in the journey. Have you heard that before? I don't know about you. Sometimes I hear things like that, but I think, oh, that sounds nice, but I don't really understand it because I don't take the opportunity to stop and think about it and understand it in the real way that it's meant to be used. These strategies, these tips and tricks that you filled your decluttering toolkit with are meant to make this whole process more enjoyable. Because when the process is more enjoyable, is easier, is simpler, you're more likely to stick with it. And that's what gives you success. Ooh, and something just came to me. There was before the Simple Summer series episodes, and I don't remember exactly which episode it was, but I shared a quote that I actually have on my wall. Okay. Oh, it was the episode about discipline, right? And being disciplined. And it's just this idea that this discipline, that making decluttering and being organized and living organized, making that whole process easier and more enjoyable for you, helps you step into that discipline. And the quote was that discipline not just determines success, but it determines how long you can stay successful. So, as I wrap up this Simple Summer series with you today, I want you to remember that. And I want you to draw on these new tools. Don't just stick them in the back of your mind and forget about them. Actually, put them to work for you. Because when you allow these tools to lighten the load for you, do some of that heavy lifting for you, everything is just easier. Everything flows more naturally. And that, my friends, is what it's all about. So let's do a quick rundown. I want to remind you of all these amazing tools that are in your toolkit now, thanks to this Simple Summer series. And then don't worry, I am going to leave you with one final tool, one final tip to, it's kind of a variation on one of the ones I shared very early in the Simple Summer series. But first, let's go ahead and do that quick rundown so you remember all the amazing tips and tricks. And remember, if you want to hear a little bit more, all of these episodes are really nice and short. I think I was trying really hard to keep all of the episodes under 10 minutes. And I'm pretty sure that just about every episode ended up being like 11 or 12 minutes. Every time I would just laugh and be like, oh well. It's staying because this is how I want you guys to experience this. So all of these episodes are just really nice and short, easy for you to digest, to listen to while you're decluttering, while you're folding laundry, while you're doing dishes, while you're cooking dinner, while you're driving, running kids around or running an errand. I want you to be able to listen to these over and over again, to come back to them, revisit them, and allow them to continue to support you as you work to live more organized. So, we started off with episode 11. That was the hanger trick. Episode 12 was the family 5 rule. Great way to get your whole family involved, even those really young guys. If they are making a mess, they can help clean up the mess. Get everybody involved, okay? The 2020 rule was episode 13. That's the one I'm going to give you a little bit of a variation on today. Remember, the 2020 rule set up some parameters for you or allowed you the opportunity, right, to set some parameters for yourself on what you would be willing to put into replacing an item if you decided to declutter it and then found later on down the road that, oh, you know what, I actually did need that. Whether it's a week down the road, probably not very likely. We're probably thinking of months or even years down the road. You're like, oh, I used to have the perfect thing for that. I don't have it anymore, and now I need it. And so I'm going to have to, use those parameters and replace it. Episode 14 was the boat rule, that idea of one in, one out, or one in, fill in the blank with whatever number you want, number of items to go out of your house. Let's see, episode 15 was when we first introduced some digital decluttering ideas. That one was a huge hit with y'all. Episode 16 was the one-touch rule. Have you been using that one? I hope so. That one was a big game changer for me in owning and taking responsibility for the clutter that was in my home and how much I was doing just because I didn't want to take the time to take another 20 to 30 seconds to go put something away. Because honestly, most of the time that's all it took. And I could do that. Then we moved on to the 12, 12, 12 challenge. Again, adjusting those parameters, those 12s to be whatever you want them to be. That was a great one. Make sure you listen back to that one. Then we had our episode all about just some additional questions that you can ask yourself to try to refocus where your thinking is going while you're decluttering, or when you come across an item that you're just maybe not super sure about. You come across something just randomly throughout your day and you think, where did this come from? Is this something that I still need? And then we go down that kind of rabbit hole spiral of all the different questions that pop into our head. Well, what if I need it again in the future? Or what, how much money did I spend on this? All those different questions. So giving you some new questions that you can use to focus yourself when a decluttering opportunity comes up and you just aren't feeling confident in making a decision. Okay, and then last week we brought back some more digital decluttering, gave you another tip to help declutter your phone, a space that you may not have even really realized was causing you some of that, I won't say anguish, but causing you some of that mental space clutter in how you have to search for the things that you use most frequently on your phone. And so being able to set your phone up in a more user-friendly way for you, not necessarily in a way that anybody else tells you to set it up. I don't think I talked about this in that episode, but I will tell you, I have seen different organizers talk about phone organization and that you should color code it or you should do all these things. If that's what works for you, if that is a tool that helps you, make sense of your phone, great, use it. For me, color coding, like pulling all of my blue apps together and my green apps together, or even they would suggest sometimes like, no, no, no. Well, I saw one organizer who said, that doesn't work. You're right. That doesn't work. Pull all your social media apps together and turn them all red, like, because you can change the color and how your things look. To me and my brain, that didn't make sense. Maybe it does for you, and that's beautiful. So there's an extra little decluttering tip for you today. But if it doesn't, don't use it. Just like any of these tips that I've shared to you, if it doesn't feel good to you, don't put it in your toolkit, or find a way to change it so that it does feel good and does help you, does allow it to do some of that heavy lifting for you. Because if it doesn't, you don't want it taking up space and cluttering your toolkit either, right? If a tool isn't helping you, get it out of your toolkit. Don't include that in your things that are going to help you declutter if it's not really helping you declutter. Okay, so today's rule is the 90-90 rule. And I'm going to share with you the parameters because this is this is a common one used by professional organizers that they share with their clients, that they use when they're organizing and decluttering one-on-one with a client. And I found that the parameters didn't work great for me to keep them at 90-90. So I'm going to explain to you what the rule is, and then I'm going to expand a little bit just to share with you how this is a perfect example of how I had to change the parameters for myself to make this tool fit well in my toolkit and have it be something that I actually used. Okay, so the 90-90 rule, similar to the 20-20 rule where you're setting up some parameters, but these are all about time. Okay, so we're not necessarily putting a financial barrier or a time as far as like how long it's going to take you to replace it. That's what the 20-20 rule is about, right? So the 90-90 rule is the idea that if I haven't used it in the past 90 days, and when I think forward to the next 90 days, will I use it? And if the answer is no, I haven't used it in the past 90 days, and no, I won't use it in the next 90 days, you can declutter it. And if that feels good to you, my friend, leave it alone. Pack that up in your toolkit and keep it, okay? If you can pick up an item that you go, oh, I don't know. Remember, these are a lot of the things that we're using these new tools on. Those items that we pick up and go, I'm not sure. There are going to be things you pick up when you're decluttering and say, oh no, that's a keeper. I know I use that. I know I love that. I know I want to keep that. I know I want to have to manage that because I love it. I use it. I want it. Okay. Then there's going to be other items that you pick up and go, whoop, nope, that can go. You don't even have to give it a second thought. And oh my goodness, if you have a piece like that, do not allow yourself to give it a second thought. Don't tell yourself you have to use one of these tools out of your toolkit on those. No way. If you are certain one way or the other on an item, do it. Do with it what you will. Ooh, this is trash. This has a big stain on it. I'm never going to wear this again. Whatever. Get rid of it. Okay. These tools, I cannot say this enough. These are for those things that you pick up and you just don't know. I'm not sure. That's when you can go ahead and dig into your toolkit to help you make it easier. That's what it's all about. So the 90-90 rule, you're going to pick it up and you're going to say, have I used it in the past 90 days? No. Do I see myself using it in the next 90 days? No. Okay, I can declutter it. For me, 90-90 didn't feel right. When I pick up an item and I say, I haven't used it in 90 days, I'm not going to use it in 90 days. But what if I need it a month after that? That's where my brain went. And so I found like if I caught myself questioning that time frame over and over again, then it wasn't a good rule for me. So I actually flipped the 90-90 rule. I spread it out a little bit more and I go 6 months. So 6-6, and we're going months, right? Not days. Have I used it in the last 6 months? Will I use it do I see myself using it in the next 6 months? Because guess what? At that point, if I say no, I haven't used it in the last 6 months, and I say, oh, I don't think I see myself using this in the next 6 months. That's a full year, my friends, and that sat much easier with me. And so it kept me from having that kind of internal struggle about like, oh, do I feel good about this? Do I feel good about decluttering this? I don't know. I just expanded those parameters a little bit. 6 months, 6 months. Boom, that's a full year. If I haven't used it and don't see myself using it in a full year, experiencing all four seasons, all the holidays, all the different things that can happen and come up in a year, and I don't think I'm going to use this, I am waving goodbye to whatever that item may be, because I certainly don't need to have it in my space, continue to manage it, keep it clean, keep it organized, have it holding space that could be being utilized by something else that I do use, love, want. That's how you can adjust these parameters to make sure that what you're packing up in your decluttering and organizing toolkit is actually going to be the right tool for the job. Ah, y'all, this has been so much fun sharing all of these tips and tricks with you all summer long. I know summer is not quite over, but as things start to wrap up, yes, I'm going to go ahead and say it as we're here kind of on the cusp of back to school season. It's not that I'm going away. I'm not going to stop sharing amazing tips and tricks with you. We're just going to keep moving forward with the podcast in a different way. So I hope you'll come back and continue to join me each week for a new episode here on the Declutter 360 podcast.